but we will be recording the meeting, and we are researching whether we want to post these online and how we want to present them online. We've had many people ask to have our meetings be presented online. Sometime in the future, when we can meet again in person, which we hope is sooner rather than later, but it might be further out than any of us wish it could be, we might experiment with having a blended meeting format where folks would have the option of attending in person, but they could also attend online via Zoom. So again, that's something we're researching. Do you have anything you want to add on this slide, Andrew, or do you want to move to the next one?
I'll move to the next. Oops.
Okay. So back to the whole entering your address. The reason you had to register, the reason we asked for your address is those of you who are regular JPNA attendees probably remember that one of the ways you become eligible to vote is by having attended a meeting in the previous 3 months. So the reason we ask, and you also have to be a resident of the Jeffreys Point neighborhood area. You have to live within the boundaries, and you've got to be at a meeting within the past 3 months, as well as at the meeting where the vote occurs. So we are using Zoom to capture that information. When you pre-register, we ask you to put in your address. If you don't care about voting, or if you're from outside of the Jeffreys Point neighborhood area, you can put something else in that field. But if you do live within the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association, please put in your address. That will allow us to verify that you're eligible to vote, and it'll allow us to keep the voting records. After the meeting, those of you who pre-registered and attended the meeting will receive an email acknowledging your attendance. So people who pre-registered but maybe forgot, didn't show up, didn't attend the meeting, they're not going to get that very important email that says you attended. That's your ticket to prove voting eligibility. If for some reason you would like to vote at a future meeting and we say, no, you've never been at a meeting, you could say, there's my attendance receipt.
And sorry, Mary, I just want to interrupt for 1 second. The people that just joined, my apologies, you only missed one slide. You were sitting in the waiting room and I did not know, and I now have the participant list up and am going to admit anybody who happens to be coming in late. So apologies for that. So anyone who just joined, you only missed one slide. So we're on attendance at this moment.
And we're moving way ahead in the agenda because the mayor unfortunately had to cancel, and Anthony Guerriero from Massport isn't here yet. So Andrew and I are talking about Zoom. Registration is per individual. That's so we can manage the voting in a more easy fashion. If you do have multiple people in your household, I see a couple people where I've got partners clustered around the warm glow of the laptop screen. It's a lovely warm glow. Please, if you have the ability to log in with a different device, that would make it easier for us. If you can't do that, shoot us an email and say, hey, I was online with my partner, and just tell us who attended from your household. Anything else, Andrew? Oh, you're muted. Unmute. Andrew, unmute.
I know, I'm sorry. It was pushing things and it wasn't happening.
I know,
okay.
I hate that.
So I did want to just let you know that it looks like someone named Anthony just joined. So I'm hoping it's Anthony Guerriero.
Okay.
It should be. I texted him. He was coming. So it should
Okay,
be.
perfect. Well, we can finish up pretty quick and then we'll.
Yes. I have nothing, no. Thank you.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Okay, we're not going to vote tonight, thank goodness. But we do have a bunch of votes teed up for the next meeting. Next month in July, when we normally would have our great big fun potluck overlooking the harbor, we unfortunately are not going to be set up to do a potluck due to the COVID. So we're going to have another one of these Zoom meetings and we're going to vote. We're going to use something called Election Runner. We're not going to be able to vote in real time. We're going to talk more about voting and the mechanics of that at the next meeting. But what's going to happen is you'll come to the meeting. After the meeting, you'll get an email with a personalized number that lets you log in and vote. And we believe that we have a way to vote securely because everyone will receive a one-time code. Everyone who attends and is voting eligible. Next slide. we're having P&Z meetings, 2 P&Z meetings this month. They'll be held over Zoom. You should have seen the announcements about them. Please register, please attend. We will post the agendas soon with links to the project documents. Also, we should mention that we've worked with the developers, and project documents will be put up 48 hours prior to the meeting. So you'll be able to go to our website, look at the P&Z meeting agenda, click the link, and look at the slides the developer is going to show, and email us your questions or be ready to enter the questions in the chat. We're hoping that by you having the slides for the P&Z meetings in advance, you'll be able to answer questions more effectively given the crazy situation we're in.
Mary, if you'd like, I'll take this slide.
Cool.
So using Zoom, it is imperative that, and we've all done this evening, but just to reiterate, it's imperative that every individual person register for the meeting in advance. And the reason for that is because our bylaws require us to track who has attended every meeting. So if you're, like Mary mentioned earlier, if you're a couple and you want to join together, that's great. But we would, if you'd like to each vote separately, it would be a great idea for you to join on separate devices so that you're able to register on separate devices and then therefore each be able to vote separately. That's the main reason behind that. So once you register, you will receive an email link with the access to the Zoom meeting, just like you did today. I will be sending out the link again on the day of the meeting, similar to the way I did today, so that you don't have to go rifling through your email to find the link. However, that could always be an interesting scenario where that might not happen. So please make sure that you try and save that email just in case.
Or add it to your calendar. There's a button in the email that says add it to my calendar. That's the best thing.
That's a great way. It is imperative that you do not share your link with other people because your link is your link. And if you give it to someone else, it's going to look like they signed in as you. So that will completely eliminate your ability to vote in future meetings because you won't be registered, or excuse me, the other person won't be registered. So make sure that you do not share your link with other people, and maybe just share the registration link if that's something that you feel necessary. But do not share the link that comes to you after you register. Attending the meeting using the link that you were emailed, like I said, you may need to install the Zoom client software on your computer or the Zoom app on your phone or tablet. That's definitely the best way to go. If you are signing into this type of meeting on a mobile device, I would definitely recommend downloading the app versus using the web client. It's just a much easier way to go. Next slide. I'll let you take this, Mary.
Okay. So if you have questions, you're free to ask them in advance. We expect a lot of people to do that for the planning and zoning meetings. Tonight, you're here, you got here, congratulations, we're all in Zoom together. If you have questions, use the chat and Andrew will be monitoring it and asking the questions for you. And please be patient. This is new to all of us. It's a new situation for all of us. We're trying our best.
So at this point in time, I have no questions. Is there any questions out there from anybody? Please feel free to send a question if you have any questions about the process.
For me, the chat is turned off. I can't open up the chat.
Really?
Really?
You should be able to go to more where there's 3 dots, ... Click on that, and it should bring up a little window, and chat should be at the top. You can also do try Alt-H, and it should bring up a chat window.
Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I don't have something. So
Does anybody else have that problem? Could a couple other people try it?
Oh no, yeah, because other people are able to chat with me, so.
It may also be at the bottom. I have to scroll my screen. I have to scroll my cursor
Yes,
over the bottom of the screen to pull up a separate menu.
We actually do have one question. Hold on.
Okay.
From Allison. Andrew, where do I register for the P&Z Zoom? I have not seen an email to register. So that actually hasn't gone out yet, just so you know. We only put out the information for this meeting at this time, but that will be coming shortly. So you'll either get an email blast either on Facebook or from your email, etc. So it will go to all of our channels at that point.
You'll certainly get it by Wednesday. We typically put those out on all our channels a week before the meeting takes place. So look for that to come out.
Okay.
And a reminder that the chat will stay open for the entire meeting. So if you think of a question after we have moved on, please feel free to submit it to Andrew. And we are certainly happy to address it. And a reminder that we are sorry, unfortunately, the mayor canceled as the meeting was starting. And if you have any questions for the mayor, or if you had any concerns that you came on to address with him, please send them to Andrew, and we're happy to share them with Lena Tremelli, his staffer, who is here on the call. I noticed that Ricardo Patron from Lydia Edwards' office is also here. And we will, Gabriella from NOAA is also here. And if Stephen Greengrass from Adrian Madaro's office is here. And so we will recognize anyone else as we are able to pick you out.
And Maggie Randall from Senator Boncore's office.
Excellent.
Okay. Oh, wait, we have some more messages here. Let me take a quick look before we move on.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. This is our first time doing this as well. So we appreciate that you're willing to give us a moment or two to get settled as we get.
So we have a question from David Johnson. Now that we were in the summer season, there is more and more trash being thrown on the streets and into the park. Is there anything being done to combat this? Are we working with the police or having cameras watched more frequently? So do we have anybody that is appropriate to answer that question at this time? I don't think we do we?
Can I plug Derek Edwards and cleanboston.org? Derek Edwards is my hero, and if you go to the website cleanboston.org, you too can adopt a block and clean the trash. Oh, Derek's online. Derek, you are amazing.
Derek, I unmuted you in case you'd like to speak.
Yeah, I'm sitting here next to Maggie. I got some weird echo. Yeah, cleanboston.org. The idea is to try to get someone on every block to adopt their block for just a month or 2 or 3 at a time. And the hope is that if you get enough coverage, enough people cleaning their blocks, then, it's sort of a many hands makes light work type situation. So you go to cleanboston.org, find your block. If it's not adopted, adopt it, clean it once or twice a month or a week, however often it needs, and then reach out to me. My email is on cleanboston.org. I can help you get supplies, and we can organize and get this picked up a little bit better. That's it.
Thank you so much, Derek. It's a great site, and it's really satisfying to see your block turn green, and then when you're a little naughty and lazy, it turns yellow and then red and then black.
Okay, we do have a couple other questions. Chrissy Holt asked, why was the mayor scheduled? This was something that we had asked him to speak at our meeting. Unfortunately, he was not able to attend at very last minute. We were told earlier today that he was attending, which is why when we send out the revised agenda, we said he was confirmed. And then we literally learned as we were starting the meeting that he was not attending. Let's see, I've got a question here. Okay, this is something we can come to afterwards. Okay, and that's not a question either. So this is not related to anything we were talking about, but it is a question at that, so I'll throw it out there. This is from Michael O'Brien. Hi, Andrew. Has the JPNA ever thought about organizing a walking or running group? He says he's happy to chat offline. So if anybody is interested in that, Michael O'Brien would like to start a walking or jogging group. I think that's great in this time we're at right now, as long as everyone is social distancing. Hold on, let me make sure I have not forgotten anybody here. Sorry, my apologies.
There used to be a workout group.
There was. You're right. You're right.
Oh my God, early. I have not seen them be active lately.
Eastie Rising.
Yes, that's right, Jim. Thank you. EC Rising was active for many years. I'm not really sure what happened. So if they're still there, if someone could contact him to let him know so he could join. And if they're not active, then we encourage you to start it up again. It was very popular for many years. So.
Thomas Garvey asked, will we be getting an update about Boston Police revised policies in view of the recent protests? Unfortunately, Tom, we do not have a representative from the police department online with us tonight. We're working on actively getting them to participate in our Zoom meeting next month. We had asked for them to participate this month, and unfortunately, they were unable to do so. But that is definitely our plan, is to continue our normal process of having the police give us an update and allow for questions at that time.
Absolutely. So let's move on to Anthony as we're approaching 7:30.
Yeah.
And I believe that he is covering two different issues this evening, and people are going to have questions about both. And we will certainly address any questions later in the meeting.
Okay. And if you do have questions as you go, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will do my best to get them out there as we continue.
If I could jump in for a minute here, this is Elisa Rodriguez. I am a representative from the Boston Police Department and from the Neighborhood Crime Watch Unit.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. But I don't have that information that you need. So what I will do is reach out to the district, let them know that I participated in this meeting and that this is information that the group is looking for. So I just wanted to be sure that I introduced myself so that everyone knows that I'm here.
Thank you, and thank you for attending. And Elisa, if you could follow up with an email to board@jeffreyspoint.org, that would give us your contact information. It'd be great.
Definitely, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. Usually we start off with the police, so we apologize. We would have certainly given you the floor, but we appreciate you introducing yourself. So Anthony Guerriero, I believe, has logged in. Anthony, if you could take yourself off mute. Oh, here he is. Anthony Guerriero works for Massport, and he is speaking to us this evening in regards to the Tall Ship Floating Restaurant located down in front of the Portside development. And then he will also be addressing us in regards to the parking lot and on top of Piers Park Phase 2. Which will you be starting with tonight, Anthony?
We'll talk with the Tall Ship, and thank you to Andrew and Mary for getting me straightened with Zoom. Not always an easy thing on my end. And Margaret, thank you for always chasing me down to participate in the
Anthony, real quick before you start, do you have any slides that you're going to be showing? Because we didn't hear back from you regarding that.
I think the slides that I think Mary has that I had sent out a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, let me get those up for you real quick.
And those are the ones on the Tall Ship, Andrew.
Did you want me to do the Piers Park phase? No, Eastie Landing is what you want, right?
That's correct, right? The Catalonia Tall Ship.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
I love that you suited up for us, Anthony.
Always on call, Margaret. Okay, so the Tall Ship at Pier 1. So this idea came out actually towards the end of last year, and it was ways of Rosalie and Massport trying to look at how to activate the Southwest Corridor at Pier 1 while we're in the stages of developing the residential portion of Pier 1. Now, this Tall Ship actually was in East Boston last year in the latter part of 2018 in the East Boston shipyard, where they was doing some work on the mast and some other repair work. So the ship, the Catalonia, is a 245-foot steel-hull ship owned by the Navy Yard Hospitality Group. They're the same group that operates the Real House in some other restaurants in and out of Boston. And what they want to do is operate a restaurant and bar on the ship and on the deck. So the seating, they'll have a gathering area, small stage for activities, workout areas, performances, maybe some movies. They want to operate from 11 a.m. possibly till 11 p.m. at night. They'll have some pop-up shops where they'll sell different types of food and maybe some goodies and shirts, so forth and so on. We'll have restaurant trailers, so more or less the trailers that you might see if you've gone to a golf tournament, those fancy trailers instead of just regular porta potties, they think that about 1,200 customers for on a busy day during the main part of the season, which would be the summer. And they'll have a complimentary shuttle water service similar to what they have docking coming in and out of the Real House. They're looking for a 2-year license. So right now, the license that they have is through Roseland and then Massport, just for docking. We're actually having a meeting tomorrow to talk about all the steps that they need to take. They hope to become operational sometime around July 1st. And they want to do have programs that are just not geared toward adults, but something for kids. Do something in the summer, maybe something in the fall with like a pumpkin patch, and then maybe do something closer to the holidays. Fire, water, safety, sewage, electricity, and provisions will be made. Thank you, Andrew. And you can tell with the blue area, those boxes are pop-ups. The stage area is the farthest corner, closest to the water. They'll be walking from from in front of Pier 1 in Building 7 and down to the dock. So no cars will be on Pier 1 other than those for the people who are operating the ship in the pop-ups. They're talking about a valet service, and they're trying to work that out with the Roseland company. Roseland holds the full lease on Pier 1, and they're working on completion and design. Keep going, Andrew, stop right there, thank you. So you can see this is something similar to where they've had down in the financial district and also in City Hall, that kind of an idea. And the hospitality group have seen this be successful in New York as well, and they want to try to replicate it here. So we're excited about it. We had talked to the elected officials, Councilor Edwards, Senator Boncory, and Representative Darrow back in February. We were planning on having a WDAC, which is the Waterfront Development Advisory Committee, which some of you are members of. The WDAC, more or less, is the community representative for the Roseland project, and we were hoping to meet with the WDAC and then come out to JPNA, and then COVID hit. So right now, they're in the beginning of their permitting process. They still have a long way to go. Sal Amatina, the former counselor, is a consultant on this project. We're excited about it. This is a good group. They've done a great job. I think a lot of us have gone to the Real House. We know the top quality work they do there. And we believe that this is going to be exciting new beginning for the Pier 1 area and Pier 1 project. And I think the long-term hope is that once Roseland begins to construct on that site, that there's a possibility that these guys could stay there. Every security provision is being made, every precaution. We have to bring out sewage, water, electricity. They're going to be dealing with the police and security. They have a COVID agreement that they've signed, that they have to follow that protocol as established by both the city and the state. So I think that all the boxes seem to be checked, and we'll continue to keep you updated as they progress. Like I said, their hope is to begin July 1st, and that's not a long way away.
Anthony, I know that this is the question that most people are curious about.
Sure.
Have they considered parking for this area and how that will be handled?
Right. So what they're looking at is working with Roseland in terms of as a valet service, maybe parking in the building where there might be some empty space. So that's something that's being discussed tomorrow, Andrew. I have a 9 o'clock on that. But initially, when that was raised, no parking on Pier 1 because it's Chapter 91 regulations, and that they're going to work with a valet service. What they're hoping is with the ferry service or the boat service coming back and forth, that would alleviate a lot of pressure. And they also looked at this as a possible neighborhood, possible neighborhood restaurant as well. So that's what they're focusing on. We were concerned about the traffic as well. And I think some of you saw, like I mentioned earlier, saw this ship last year in the shipyard, because I got a lot of phone calls. They were working on the mast and the hull. And the ship was docked at the Navy shipyard for a while.
Okay, as of right now, let me just stop sharing because sometimes, oh, yep, see, that's what happened. There are actually quite a few questions here, so let me look through this really quick. For some reason, it doesn't show me when I'm showing the screens, so I apologize. One second.
Right. That's right.
So a question that has been asked, will Roseland provide a space of a public space to accommodate where community groups could hold meetings?
They already have, they already have that. So we've used that space. There is a space in building 6. We've met with the waterfront, the W deck. There is a community space in that location.
Which
So
location?
in building 6.
Which is what
The
exactly?
middle, it's the build, it's the mid, it's the, I'm just trying to get, it's the middle building. It's not the first building that was built. It's the second building. It's right in the middle that faces the pier. That's
Okay.
building 6. Inside building 6 is a meeting area where people can go in and utilize that space.
And that's
We've
available.
had
That's
W
available
deck.
for community use.
Yes, it's not a big space, but you definitely can get probably about a dozen people in there, Andrew.
Okay. All right. Is docking for private boats, or will there be docking for private boats, or will there be a shuttle to Real House and Pier 6?
There is no docking for private boats. There is a shuttle that's currently operating at the Real House that goes back and forth.
The next question is, I want to know, does this include a beer garden? The design lends itself to a beer garden.
They're able to serve alcohol, so I think if they want to loosely call it a beer garden, I think they could do that. It looks similar to what you've seen at the financial district. It's more, it's a restaurant. He's calling it a restaurant proposal, so I would just say extended restaurant.
Okay, forgive me because I'm not exactly sure what this is in reference to, but the question is, please discuss what a COVID agreement is.
Well, I don't know if, I think I might have misspoke if I said COVID agreement. I think it's more or less following the rules and regulations that have been established by the state and the city over the last 3 months in terms of social distancing. So what you're seeing with the restaurants opening up now, that the social distancing, how the tables are set up, all those precautions that have been taking place over the last 11 weeks will be in place for this restaurant, and they'll follow those rules and regulations.
Excellent, thank you. What are the building plans at Pier 1, and what is the status on that?
So good question. The building plans, they were moving pretty fast until COVID-19. So right now we're waiting for an update from Roseland. They're still taking a look at the structure. They have to build on the pier, which is a little bit different than building on the backlands, which they've already built.
Anthony, I think the question may have been regarding what was originally planned to be built there.
So the original plans date back till about 1991. So there's been a lot, I think everyone recognizes there's been a lot of starts and stops, starts and stops, starts and stops. So the last rendition of a design were to be a mixed use of, it was supposed to be mixed of condos and apartments. We had seen a draft design back in the winter. We were hoping to have more information, and then COVID-19 hit. So everything's been on a pause. Talking to our real estate asset development department that deals with Roseland. Roseland is still looking to move forward. I haven't seen anything yet. As soon as the dust settles and we get back into an operating order and going back to the office, we'll have an update for you guys.
I think the gist of the question, I feel like the way that they've worded it is this to be permanent on this space?
Being the ship?
Yes.
Right now, they're looking for 2 years, but I think the long term they would like to be there as an addition to when Roseland's built. That is to be seen. We'll see what that construction phase looks like, but I think that they would like to stay at this location. This is a great place to be, but time will tell.
Okay. And then the next question, and I apologize if you've already covered this, is the July 1st start date the date to start work on this, or will that be the date that it's open to the public?
That would be the date they're hoping to be open to the public. Okay. So that's why I said earlier that I think that's less than 4 weeks. That's a quick turnaround. They have a lot of work to get done there. I have a meeting tomorrow morning to go over a timeline with them, but they're pushing July 1st.
The next question is, who is the contact to use that community room? Would it be the person who manages Frank?
Sorry?
Frank, the guy that
It's Frank, yes. I forget Frank's last name.
My apologies.
That's all right. What I can do, Andrew, is let me get, I
Frank
have his
McCord.
contact information. I can send that to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
So whoever, I'm sorry, whoever asked that question, feel free to reach out to us and we can get that information to you afterwards. Next question, how many of those food truck or pop-up spaces can be reserved for Eastie businesses? Not thrilled about a beer garden, and can the pop-ups for Eastie businesses be free as a benefit to the community?
I don't know that question. I can ask.
Okay.
Again, this is being driven by the Charlestown, the Navy Yard Hospital. This is their program, this show, dealing with Roseland. I will ask them that question.
The last question that I have here, thank you, Anthony. The last question I have here is, did I hear they anticipate 1,200 customers a day? That
On
is
a good day,
that is a very
on a good day, they think that because of its location, because it's on the water, and don't forget, it's not just on the pier. They're going to be able to go physically on the boat. So you're going to have, if you take a look, if you go back to that map, there's going to be seating in a bar, on 2 bars, I think, on the boat, and then you have more seating in a bar and activity on the pier. So over a course of a day, and if there's an event, you could have up to that number.
Okay. And then the last question, and we're going to limit this to the last question on this topic. I support the Tall Ship Restaurant. I was under the impression the pier could not support condo buildings. I go all the way back to the 1991 meeting. I want to know about the building on the pier. I like the ideas of the boat and the pier.
Yeah, so what, over the last 2 years, Roseland has done a lot of testing of that pier. So there's a lot of questions, to the person's point, about whether they could support soil, building, construction, so forth and so on. So Roseland spent a lot of money, a couple million, to look at that. They're putting up this better supports for the pier, but they think that what they're trying to plan will be able to support the structures that they're in the process of designing.
Okay, we had one question sneak in under the wire. What will the community process be for the building on the pier? My understanding is that they will need to seek changes to the Chapter 91 license, which was issued close to 2 decades ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's not going to be any different than what we do for any other project. We'll come out into the community and talk about what the design looks like first, and then we get into that construction program. So we've already been, we'll meet with the Waterfront Development Advisory Committee, the WDEC, Mary Cole, Karen Madalena, and Mark Travasky from JPNA, and actually Karen Baudelaire, who just moved to Clippership, represent you guys, your neighborhood, on that group. We'll meet with them first to go over everything, and then come out to the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association and talk about that construction process and that design.
Excellent. Thank you. Oh, sorry. You know, Anthony, we've had some cancellations, so you're pretty much our show tonight. So I'm going to continue with the question since it popped up. Do we happen to know what the hours of operation will be?
11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay. That's it for right now. Who's next? Is Margaret, are you there?
I am. It is still Anthony, as we have the parking project.
Oh, right. Sorry, my apologies. I forgot, Anthony. You have a double show.
Yes.
Let me switch gears here and bring up that.
Well, Andrew, that's old. That's from I don't know if you didn't give us a new.
No, I don't have a new one, Mary.
Do you want us to bring up the old one just so there's a map?
Yeah, because I'll be able to provide a little context on that. I think that'd be fine.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it looks like it's sideways, Mary. Is there a way for me to hold on? Let me download it and open it and try and invert it. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Hold on 1 second. That was easier than I thought. Where is it? Here we go. All right, Anthony, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to make sure we're very clear. Massport did not produce this slide deck. So if Andrew, if you can just go to, I think maybe the last slide, which shows you the actual site. Yep, right there. So late 2018 into the earlier parts of 2019, Lend-Lease and Crenshaw Construction started going into the community. I think you're all familiar with that, looking to park vehicles off the local streets. And it solicited Massport about phase 2. And we had some concerns about that, and I think a lot of other people did too. They had attended a PSPAC meeting. As you know, PSPAC is the advisory group to Massport on the parks, the open spaces, and naturally phase 2. And I know that Crenshaw came to a Jeffreys Point meeting and I think some other community meetings as well. So that was more or less a dead issue. Probably about several weeks ago, this came up again. And with a lack of areas to park on local streets, the shutdown of the T and Suffolk Downs not being available from what I've been told, they came back to us and we were asked if we could be helpful. So we agreed to allow them to park 100 cars. Over here on this says 188 cars. It's only 100 cars. It's going to be construction vehicles only. Now, the vehicle access remains the same. They're going all the way to the water's edge. And they're going to, if you're facing it, they're going to go to the left towards Roseland. And they're going to park along Pierce Park Lane. So that whole area that you see that borders Marginal Street doesn't exist. It's just a small section of that. So it's going to be a total of 43,000 square feet, which is a lot less than what you have here. It's only construction workers, no construction vehicles. They're allowed to be there from 7 a.m. To 5 p.m. during the week, maybe some weekend work depending on what they need. No construction vehicles. They have a license agreement with Massport. This agreement is from June 2020 to June 2021. That's in preparation for work to begin on phase 2. There are no porta potties. They're just there to park their car and walk to the site. The project is 99 Summer Street. They are only going to have 100 cars, and we're keeping a close eye on them. Naturally, our area is policed. We have the Port Police there, terminal operators that maintain our area, Pierce Park in phase 2. We'll keep an eye on it. They've been there since last week. I think on Friday there was less than a dozen cars there. We've asked them to follow all COVID-19 procedures as prescribed by the state and the city. And we have the right to terminate if we needed to. And we're just going to continue to work with them. And we're trying to be a good neighbor. Instead of them parking and taking valuable neighborhood spaces or commercial spaces, there was the opportunity to put these cars on this site. And we believe that this is going to work out for everybody.
Are there any other slides in here that you would like to?
No, we didn't put the slide. This is the one that was shared by, was produced by Lend-Lease and Crenshaw, not Massport.
So let me, we did have some questions that were emailed to us previously. Let me just pull those up really quick. This is from a community member, and Anthony, you have already received this, but they did ask us to read this.
Sure.
We are saddened to hear that despite community opposition, Massport and Crenshaw Construction have begun using Pierce Park Phase 2 for construction worker parking. As a close abutter to the parcel, we have already seen an increase in traffic coming around our corner to visit the site, often early in the morning, creating significant noise and waking us prematurely. When this idea was proposed several months ago, many neighbors stated that Massport should consider alternatives before allowing construction companies to use this parcel, which is in the middle of a thriving residential neighborhood. Suffolk Downs was mentioned as a possibility for worker parking, given the T access to the waterfront sites. If no alternative can be found, we request that construction traffic at the very least be routed down South Bremen Street and into the parcel via the road behind Portside at East Pier, not via Marginal Street. This route would create far less congestion and risk to children on Orleans and Marginal Street. Furthermore, we worry about the dust that will be sent airborne. throughout the waterfront neighborhoods during the hot, dry months if parking is not allowed on the Piers Park 2 parcel, which I do have to agree with. So if Roseland is going to go ahead with this construction, then why not disrupt their own tenants versus other areas of the neighborhood?
Okay, you just confused me. I mean, this is Crenshaw and Lend-Lease, I want to make clear, is not a Massport tenant. So that's number
Well,
one.
they're on Massport property, are they not?
Lend-Lease and Crenshaw?
Lend-Lease, is that not a,
That's not Massport's project.
it's
no.
not, okay, my apologies, sorry.
No. So 99 is not Massport property. I think that I did speak to the person this afternoon who had sent that email. I want to make a couple of clarifications. I think the one great thing about your organization and the neighborhood is that they're pretty much on top of things. And in the past and in the present have always been good at calling me and saying, Anthony, there's an issue here. Can you just try to resolve it? Again, like I said earlier, I was aware of some of the concerns expressed by the East Boston Piers Pack when Lend-Lease made this presentation to JPNA. I don't know if it was several months ago or last year. I was not present at that meeting. Again, we were asked to be a good neighbor and try to help them take these vehicles. As you know, these vehicles come early in the morning and they're taking up all these valuable residential and commercial spaces. So we have a vacant site there in trying just to provide some available parking, so it's not taking parking from anywhere else. We are going to continue to work with them as the summer goes on and there's a dry spell. We will keep an eye out. We did talk about watering down the site if dust starts to accumulate like we've done in the past. Regarding the South Bremen roadway, I did put that question in today. I'm not too sure, but I have no problem asking that question. And like I said, this is for 1 year. I think the project's going to take longer to build. You would have to ask that to them. Regarding Lend-Lease in Crenshaw, if everyone has a pen and paper, the person who is their primary contact, gentleman's name is Tony, and it's Pacelli, Pacelli, 978-501-6002. Again, it's 978-501-6002, and his email address is tpacelli, Pacelli, at Crenshaw, CRANSHAW.com. So if there are any issues, in addition to calling me, it should be directed to him as well. And
Okay.
we'll keep a record of it.
I do feel the obligation to read the remainder of this email just to the public.
Sure.
Bigger than the logistics of finding parking and staging area for construction is Massport's responsibility and commitment to the community. Massport's first obligation behind running airport and maritime operations on Boston Harbor is to the people of East Boston, not its wealthy waterfront developer tenants. As such, we ask Massport to speed up rather than slow down the process of completing the second phase of Piers Park. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown us just how vital our open spaces are, especially here in the heart of Boston. We need Piers Park Phase 2 now more than ever. What a gift it would be to the residents nearby, including thousands of new waterfront neighbors, to expedite the process of completing this park. Continuing to delay its completion and adding to the burden on the community by allowing construction, parking, and deliveries to occur there will only serve to reinforce neighbors' assumption that Massport works against their interests, not for them. And again, this is the email directly from a resident here in East Boston,
Sure.
not the board of the JPNA.
No, I get that, Andrew. And just really 2 points. Number one, I make sure everyone's very clear that Lend-Lease and Crenshaw are not developers for Massport. There is not a Massport
But
project.
Anthony, you do have to understand that these people are
I get it.
because you're allowing them to use Massport.
I get it. I get it.
So
And on phase,
therefore, you're participating in their construction by allowing them to park there. So that's the reason.
we get it. We get it. I think that, in terms of being a good neighbor, we are committed to building phase 2. Phase 2 of Piers Park on a rough schedule we're hoping to open in the late fall of 2023. That's the goal. I mean, I think everyone can imagine that this has been a catastrophic event over the last several months. Aviation nationwide's down 98%. Same thing for the Port of Boston. So we are committed, but everything is on a pause. This is probably one of the first community meetings I've participated in over 4 months, but we are committed to building phase 2. Right now, the final option of a design option was voted on by the PAC, East Boston Pierce PAC, in November. Oop. Okay. All
Sorry.
set, Nope, that's all
Yeah,
right.
No,
Okay,
I just
you
stopped sharing my screen.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So the PS PAC voted in November of 2019 on the final design option, the preliminary design option. Our goal with the PAC now is to go over every nook and cranny and talk about what they want to see inside the park. That includes the new sailing center, climbing structure for kids, a water feature, and try to nail those down so then we can get an RFP out there and hire the contractor.
Okay, and just to wrap this up, we do have some additional questions that have been sent through the chat, and I apologize, I can't see those until after I stop sharing my screen. Where was the community process this time around for this scenario that's happening right now?
In terms of Crenshaw?
Yes.
I think the community process is that, we're trying to be a good neighbor. We're bringing it up to everyone's attention now.
I think they're asking where the rest of the community was involved.
In terms of
Why was the rest of the community not involved in the decision?
There wasn't any community involvement, but it's starting to happen already.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think they came.
Sorry, let me just a point of note here. If you could please not unmute yourself and please refrain from speaking. Unfortunately, we're trying to keep this going through the chat only, just to keep it organized, not to silence you, but please just put your questions through the chat so that we can keep this organized. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Anthony. Not you.
Okay. So, when the request came in, we reached out to the East Boston Pierce PAC, that is the advisory committee on phase 2, reached out to working with the East Boston elected officials, and again, looking at what the possibilities were and what the potential benefit was. The benefit of taking these vehicles off the neighborhood street and not taking in valuable commercial and residential parking. And again, it was only going to be for 1 year, from June to June.
Okay. The next question was, they are parking at 6 a.m. Wait. You mentioned, I guess you mentioned 7 a.m. The lease with Crenshaw says 6 a.m.
I think my understanding is the job begins at 7 a.m. So they're arriving at the location between 6 and 7.
The next question is, what is the term of this agreement for parking? I guess they're asking the time period.
So it's going to be June of May, because last week was May of 2020 to June of 2021.
Next question is, previously the community was offered potentially $300,000 and the community still had reservations. Why would Massport accept this without at least asking for the same level of financial commitment?
In terms of, is that you talking about the charitable donation? Because I know that at least one of the meetings, the only meeting that I attended, which was a PAC meeting, they had talked about a charitable donation, and that was something that was being offered by Lend-Lease and Crenshaw, not Massport. So that would be a question that would be directed to Mr. Pacelli.
Okay, and I'm sorry, you said you don't have information in regards to the length of this agreement.
Oh, I just said it, from May 2020 to June of 2021.
Sorry.
That's right.
For me to read the questions.
You're multitasking, Andrew. Andrew, you're multitasking. Don't worry about it.
Okay. How long is this last? Okay, that's the same question. This next commenter says, I have a major problem with this. It is not safe to drive down Orleans to Marginal to Piers Park Lane. This passes by a busy crosswalk to the Greenway with children, adults passing, walking, biking, and running. Why can they not take a more sensible route south Bremen to Pier 1 Drive?
I can ask that question. That question was raised to me today.
Yeah, this has come up multiple times, so it sounds like.
I don't know. I mean, I think one point might be: is there a curb cut into phase 2? I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm certainly going to ask that tomorrow. It's a fair question.
Is there going to be any restrictions for other people parking in this lot? Meaning, like, will they have some sort of gate? Is there going to be
There's already a gate there. So there's already a gate there. It's a long chain link fence. I think everyone's seen it. It has scrim on the front towards Marginal Street. It's only Crenshaw and Lend-Lease employees. Again, they're only allowed 100 cars, and they're just for the construction workers. That team, no construction vehicles, just those workers.
Okay. And at the last JPNA meeting regarding this topic, we suggested this, sorry. So I'm curious why you need to check back on this is the question. Why was this never considered, and if not, why? I'm not sure what that's in reference to, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm assuming that it has to do with the, why are they not driving down South Bremen instead? Why are we not sure why that's not happening?
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for that.
So hopefully the next time we speak to you, we'll be able to have an answer to that.
Sure.
The next one is this going to push back construction on Piers Park Phase 2? We already sort of discussed that.
We answered that, yeah.
So this person has mentioned that, you've mentioned summer 2023 for Piers Park Phase 2.
Late fall 2023.
Okay, there's a sign hanging in the park right now that says coming summer 2020, just so you know. And that's what this person has mentioned. And they're correct.
Well, I'm gonna have to take down that sign. Okay.
Yeah, it was put up a while ago, and it's been sitting there for a while, so it might want to change that.
I'm gonna take a note of
Never
that.
mind. Wait, he answered that. Blah blah blah. Sure. Okay. Last slide. This question was, why wasn't the pier along East Pier Drive, which is now for the ship, considered? This would eliminate the dust issue and significantly reduce the corners, intersections, etc., which are already dangerous crossings.
There were Chapter 91 restrictions for that.
Well,
it's run by Roseland.
Anthony, I know for a fact that parking has happened on that pier. I've seen it myself. So,
Right, which was affiliated with the Roseland project. So they have the lease on Pier 1, and they have the license on
Chapter 91 didn't have any effect on Roseland, but it does on the other one.
I can't answer that question.
Is this this next question? Is this an affordable housing project?
I don't know. I don't know. That's not a Massport project. I'm sorry.
We have another question about community process and why it didn't happen regarding this. Thomas Garvey, how much revenue is Massport receiving from allowing this parking?
I'd have to take a look at the license agreement.
Will there be dust mitigation?
There will be dust mitigation if it comes to that, yes. We've done that in the past.
I apologize. I'm not understanding exactly what this has in reference to, but the question is why the 3-year delay? I'm guessing that has to do with Piers Park Phase 2.
Say that again?
Piers Park Phase 2, why the 3-year delay?
I don't think it is a 3-year delay. It takes 18 months.
It's 2020 and you're saying 2023, so that's 3 years.
Well, I mean, I like to see what that sign says, exactly what it says. When we've talked in terms of our schedule with the PAC, we have said that, fall of 2023. It's an 18-month, from my understanding, construction schedule. So I'm kind of at a disadvantage. I don't know what that sign says. I like to see what it says, but Phase 2, we've been said repeatedly, and I was on a Boston Harbor for All virtual tour last week where I mentioned fall 2023 on for Phase 2 because I was
actually close to a 30-year delay.
Say that again?
It's close to a 30-year delay from when the planning happened and from when you were supposed to Massport.
Jim, I'm sorry. We're trying to keep this all through the chat. We all need to keep through the chat, okay? I've asked this once before, and we need to keep it through the chat.
I want to compliment both Andrew and Anthony for going through this. And if we can't maintain this, then we're not going to be successful in our Zoom meetings. We really require respect to get through this. And Anthony was certainly not planning on using a full hour. We were planning to collect questions and answer them later, and we certainly can do that. But to answer them on the spot means we all have to respect each other. So Anthony, thank you. Andrew, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy.
And Jim, I really didn't mean to cut you off. I will ask your questions if you put them here in the chat. We're just trying to keep it organized, and that's the way we're going to do it. So I did ask it previously, so I did feel the need to cut you off there. I apologize. The next question is, has there been a traffic assessment completed for the construction workers to take Orleans versus South Bremen?
I don't know that answer.
Okay. So all of these questions that you've all submitted through the chat, if I've missed any of them, we're going to go through them after the meeting and make sure that we, you know, if we did miss them, that we pass these on to Anthony so that he's able to answer them. And we will attempt to try and incorporate those into our meeting minutes that will be posted on the JPNA website. So
Anthony, I'd just like to mention one other thing. As Mary mentioned at the top of the hour, we are considering potentially getting this recording out. We will put that out on the site. And I just encourage people that if we do make that decision, it is still pending, there's the opportunity for people to listen to this again, just to see if your question has already been addressed.
Sure.
So keep that in mind as well. Decision is pending. It'll be on our website. Reviewing the recording may be helpful. Thanks.
Okay. We'd like to thank everyone again for joining us this evening. We thank you for your patience as we resolve some of these issues. This was a first for running a meeting like this for the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association. To reiterate what was announced by Mary and Andrew earlier, we will have 2 planning and zoning meetings this month. The first one will be a week from Wednesday on June, let's see, today's the 8th. So the first one will be on the 17th, the second one on the 24th. We will be moving forward with voting next month. We did post those. Mary and Andrew did post and go through that presentation that explained this. However, if you have any questions, please email us at board@jeffreyspoint.org, as we are certainly happy to answer all of them.
so Margaret, we actually have a question from an attendee that's quite humorous, so I'd like to ask it for you.
Okay.
The question is, why is Margaret logged in from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum?
What?
Look behind you.
Oh.
You've got a lot of paintings back there.
I like that. Thank you very much. I do so many Zoom meetings sitting in one place all day long. I just could not sit at a desk. So I was like, well, I'm going to move to another room. And I just kind of grabbed this one. And yeah, I think they're creepy. But, but it kind of works with the decor. So okay.
I figure we all needed a chuckle after that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just a reminder, please be kind to one another. It's a very stressful time right now, both with COVID-19 and with everything that is going on, and being kind to one another and talking and keeping open the lines of communication is one way that we can not only support each other, but continue to grow and become better as a community. And with that, I say thank you. And does anyone on the board have anything else to add? And then we will log off.
I would just like to say thank you everybody for attending. I think we've had the largest amount of attendees that we've ever had at a JPNA meeting. We had up to 75 people at one point, which is definitely way more than the Jeffreys Yacht Club can handle. I think sometimes we definitely have a large crowd in there, but it was definitely great to see everybody here, and thank you for participating.
One last thing, if you have any thoughts on how we can improve, or if you have any thoughts on what we should do differently as we have meetings that are online, or as we have meetings in the future that are both online and in person, please send your thoughts in as we welcome them. And we want to make sure that this remains a welcome and open meeting for everyone who participates. So.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Have a great night.
So weird watching everyone like disappear.
Mm-hmm.